Hey everyone, in this video I'll walk you through my online teaching setup. If you're new here, my name is Olivier and I'm a certified math and physics teacher in Ontario who is currently doing a master's in statistics at Carleton University. First things first, all the timestamps and affiliate links are going to be in the description below. I'll try to link some cards in the top right corner, so that way when you watch the video, you can see other videos as well. For teaching math and science online, I narrowed it down to 3 things you might want to focus on. And that first one is audio. To get good audio, you only need a few ingredients. The first one is a good microphone. Personally, when I tutor and teach from home, I use the Blue Yeti microphone. I only use it because I got it as a gift, but honestly it does a great job. It's pretty standard microphone. It's very common for bloggers and content creators and whatnot. And when I'm on the go, I tend to use the lapel mic by Rode. It's just a little clip-on. It's a lot more portable, which is why I use it. It fits in your pocket and you still get good enough sound. I know a lot of people record these kinds of videos with such device, and I'm probably gonna start recording them with my phone and a lapel mic soon. I just ordered a little adapter. It's in the mail, so more on that later. Another thing you might want to consider with audio is you want to reduce the background noises as much as possible. So in my office, I unplug the office fridge, I close the windows, I try to do as much as possible to reduce the background noise. If there's echo, you can hang stuff up on the walls. I know people who hang their laundry or blanket and whatnot to absorb the sound. I know you can also buy foam blocks, and that might be a worthwhile investment if you do a lot of content creation online. The second thing you really need to figure out when you teach online is what are you going to use to write on the screen. Because when you write math, you can't just present a PowerPoint presentation. You actually need to write, and writing equations is pretty tedious if you do it with a keyboard. So people tend to use a pen. And you can use PowerPoint, I've seen it done, but personally I think that going through examples line by line with the students help everyone, especially with math, because there's all kinds of fancy notation and whatnot. Personally, I've been using a Surface Pro, and this is the new Surface Pro 8. A bunch of videos on that are to come, and some are already recorded. It's just so much better. I've been using the Surface Pro 5 for the last 3 years or so. Loved it so much that I made the upgrade, and there's going to be a video on whether I think the upgrade was worth it or not, so make sure to check that out. And if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a Surface, because they are expensive devices, there's different ways to do it. There's a bunch of devices now, laptops, that you can directly write on the screen. The experience might not be as good. I know a lot of people use their tablets, so an iPad, even a phone could do the job, ideally not a phone of course. And some people use their phone and there's a little rack and they film a piece of paper and they write on the piece of paper. So they log on as with their computer on the Zoom call or Google Meets, and then they log on with their phone, and the phone is the one presenting the pen and paper. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to use a Wacom. So it's a tablet specially made to write on a computer screen, and it essentially just simulates your mouse. So that's all it does. It's super cheap, something around $50, and you can have a really, really good writing experience. And a lot of folks out there think that it's best to not combine the writing experience with your laptop and keep them separate. So that way you can have a really performant laptop for not that expensive, and then add something $50 and then you have the writing experience. And I use OneNote, Microsoft OneNote, to write all my math when I teach, and sometimes I use it in Microsoft Edge and I just annotate a few PDFs or a few PowerPoints. That's also an option, but I tend to use OneNote especially for tutoring. And for tutoring, my writing, I don't write that much and the writing doesn't need to be that good. So instead of connecting my Surface Pro, I just use the Wacom often and it's good enough. The last thing you want to get right if you are to teach online for a long time is the physical setup. And for that, you need a good chair. And personally, I made a video on the chair that I use, and it's a Knoll Generation. Love this chair, and I have a hip condition. The scientific term for it is tight hips. I'm just kidding, but it's essentially what it is, and I think a lot of people have that in the general population, and the more sitting that you do, the more it hurts. So, and it's just like your hip flexors are tight. So a good chair is very crucial for me. And I also try to mitigate the amount of sitting, and I recently purchased a standing desk in the last year. So far, I love it. And again, I made a video on that, and I think it's one of the best standing desks for Canadians when you take into account shipping and whatnot, so make sure to check that out. And I just use foam blocks. I don't need a standing mat, so the transition is super quick. Now for the hardware, I have a desktop. It's a gaming desktop. It was relatively inexpensive. I bought it on sale. It's super performant, so when I do programming and video editing and heavier stuff, I try to use my desktop to save my laptop. But when I'm on the go, the Surface Pro is excellent because I basically have everything when I'm at school or at work. I can just plug it into an external monitor or projector and it does the job. Speaking of monitors, I personally prefer one bigger external monitor, so that way you can have the chat on the big monitor and then you can write on your tablet. So that way you have two screens and you don't need to split screen, and it makes a worse experience. But even when you have a bigger screen, I have a 32-inch screen, there's no bezel in the middle, so you're not stuck looking to the left or to the right all day. You're always looking in the middle. That's better for your back and your neck. But also you can, when it's a big screen like that, you can split the screen and only share the one window, and it still looks big enough because it's such a big screen. Okay, so that was it. Those were the three big things that I focus on for teaching math online. They're the audio quality, and I think that's general to all teaching. The writing experience, that's more specific to math teaching and science teaching. You can do drawings and whatnot. And the last one was the actual physical setup, which is basically for everyone working from home. And I think a lot of people might start working from home a lot more. So it might be worth making the investment now if you plan to do that. Do you need to invest $5,000 to $10,000 in your setup to be able to be a good teacher or be a good worker from home? The answer is definitely no. You can do that for a few $100s and still be very effective. So it's up to you, right? It depends where you're at in your life and depends what you want. I personally like this stuff and it's a hobby and it's kind of my business to do it. It is my business to do it. So I chose to do it and I think I benefited from doing so, but it's definitely a luxury. So you be the judge of whether it's worth it for you. Now, this was kind of a big picture overview of my teaching setup. We didn't cover all the nitty-gritty things. So let me know if you have questions or comments in the description below. Let me know how your setup works and why it works well. That way we can kind of build a community and give advice to other teachers, tutors, and workers from home. If you want to support this channel, do all the regular things. So hit the like button, subscribe button, but really it's to share this video with your friends. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time with another episode of Do the Work.